every day of your startup, you feel that this is not going in the right direction. And every night you feel that I will change the world. No one relies on day zero that how the things will go. It's uncertain. Startup is a long 5 to 7 year journey. It is not 6 months, 7 months. But like every journey, you will realize how things are going, and you will, kind of keep pivoting, keep changing. It's like life. One thing is very, very important for either an employee, founder, or anyone in the startup world is to see small successes. You always feel that there's nothing working. You only see problem in your business and start solving. When you go out and listen to people, then you realize what are the great things you guys are doing. And that's when, you start believing in your idea. As a founder, you have to, listen to your instinct, keep going for it. It happens. But today, it's so easy, right?
This is data from the white paper the Prime Minister presented in the Parliament. 10 years before this, before 2014, there were 350 startups in the country. In the last 10 years, 1,17,257. Mind-blowing data. And that sort of is the data for whole sorts of things. So his point is correct, right? It's much easier to do startups. Welcome, Deepak. Sangam Talks is a 8.5-year-old channel. We have about 1,800 videos, 800 speakers, scholars from all around the world who are looking at Indian civilizational issues. People who are dating the Mahabharata and Ramayana, for example. They keep fighting with each other on the date, but there is no channel around the world which is giving a platform to such people to come and talk about their research and so on and so forth. We have neurologists who are talking about Tantra Shastra. It's all started with the need for rewriting Indian history by a gentleman called Sanjeev Sanyal, who's an alumni of your college and is now on the Economic Advisory Council for the Prime Minister. Sanjeev is a friend of mine, and he's sort of influencer on getting me started on the Sangam Talks journey. What we are doing today with Deepak here is launching the Sangam Talks Business Channel, hopefully, inspiring a whole lot of new set of people for getting India to be a developed nation by 2047. And you can't do that without business and lots of money. I'll get started by first asking you a question that I've sort of written about a fair bit. Did you imagine becoming an entrepreneur when you started off? You're a local boy from Delhi University.
No, thank you. One of the reasons for coming here was I used to study right next door. In a Ramjas college, I couldn't get admission into SRCC. My percentage was not as great as you guys had. I never thought, by the way, in the beginning of my journey that I'll become an entrepreneur. But there are some instincts in your life which you always believe where will you reach in your life, right? I come from a moderate family, so the access to capital was a big challenge at that time, right? So when I was at the college or while studying, just thinking about a large business was a big challenge, but doing a SME, SMB, small entrepreneur types was always in the mind, but just couldn't do it. Fortunately for me, I got into India Times very, very early days. I feel old now, so I would be one of the guys who would have started digital internet in India in 2004. I think that's when I realized that there is opportunity in entrepreneurship. So it was not college, definitely, but at that time, I'm talking about 2004, 2005, the access to capital and access to information was so limited, it was very hard for people to think, which I believe today has fundamentally changed. One of the reason for having so many startups, people are starting out thinking and talking about, sitting here and talking about this, is just that access to capital is so easy today that people can just go and take that risk. And one very, very important aspect after that is that even if you whether you become successful or failure in your startup, you'll always be looked like you have tried doing something rather than a failure, right? If someone comes to me for a job today with a failed startup or and then the other gentleman is or the lady is from a very regular office job, I will hire the guy who, or the candidate who's failed in the startup. Because it needs those guts to start off. And then you learn. The learning is so much. When you go back and start working, it's just take you to a very different level. Most of the people in my team became successful who were, tried starting up and they went on and started up. So I think these are the fundamental changes which has happened, but I had
You had
zero
never
idea.
imagined. Not imagined. So I'll do a little bit of raising hands. Of course, everybody knows Google. Google's big vision is to organize the world's information. How many of you here know that the co-founders of Google were trying to sell to Yahoo for $1 million? How many? Okay, that's a lot of people, all right, fair bit. And you know they got rejected. Yes? Okay. So, do you know Microsoft was about to sell the first operating system, didn't know where to take it? Right? How many of you know that? Yeah, okay. And it was a chance meeting with IBM, if I'm, yeah, and then it had a new life and all of that. So, Deepak, my view here is, and I've been reading and writing and speaking on this topic, that life has a way of giving an emergent vision, as I call it. I come from the open source world, so in agile methodologies, we call it emergent architecture. On similar lines, I call this emergent vision. Life takes you from one place to another, and then somehow a new door and window opens, and you see something that you never imagined you would see. Perhaps the case with Microsoft and, say, Google. Would that be accurate for you as well in your entrepreneurial journey? Talk us through how you reached here.
Yeah.
And were there serendipitous events like this? One thing led to another. Were there coincidences you ran into? Over to you.
No, everyone. So every day, and this is my second startup. Every day of your startup, you feel that this is not going in the right direction. And every night you feel that I will change the world. So morning when you go to office and you'll start working and you'll say, oh, nothing is working. By the evening you will say, no, I'll change the world. I think that's the fundamental with every entrepreneur. I have spoken to many, many of them. You have to believe in that idea. No one relies on day zero that how the things will go. It's uncertain. Startup is a long 5 to 7 year journey. It is not 6 months, 7 months. But like every journey, you will realize how things are going, and you will, kind of keep pivoting, keep changing. It's like life. When I run, if I start running, day 1, I will probably run for half a kilometer, and day 10, I'll start running 10 kilometers, etc. It's exactly the same way. There'll be so many instances in everyone's life when you feel that this is the end, we need to pack and go back home. But that's actually the starting of something is happening in the life. One thing is very, very important for either an employee, founder, or anyone in the startup world is to see small successes and look for yourself introverts. You see what happens when you're working, you always feel, and you always feel that there's nothing working because what you're doing is solving problem. You only see problem in your business and start solving. When you go out and listen to people, then you realize what are the great things you guys are doing. And that's when, you start believing in your ideas. And it's nature. Nature keeps telling you you're going in the right direction at the right time. I think as a founder, you have to, listen to your instinct. Keep going for it. It happens. No startup, the days are over. And there are very, very few startups which works or happens in a year or 2 or 6 months. It doesn't happen. It takes for a company 5 to 7 years to even come to a place where you say, we are a successful company.
You mentioned access to capital. What else goes into building a startup for your listeners? What else? Is it as easy as that I go to an angel investor, get my first 25 lakh rupees or 50 lakh or whatever, and somebody in family, friends or whatever writes you an early check, and is that the starting? What else goes into it?
See, I spoke about access to capital. It's a medium. The only thing which will work is what problem are you trying to solve in your journey? How close are you to that problem? Can you solve or not? Rest, everything will happen. Medium to capital is that if you are able to convince 5 people that this is a genuine problem and I am determined to solve that problem and make a business out of it, there'll be enough and more people out there to talk about and put capital, including me. But if you're not convinced about the idea and you don't see a problem for yourself and solving for yourself, they say you have to eat your own dog's food. If you can't, then there is no point. That's the only thing which will work. And then you have to believe in idea and just keep going for it. There'll be enough
Explain
people
that.
to-
Sorry, explain that. Eat your own dog food in your context, for example.
For example, if I am, when I was doing Go Ibibo, if I will not go ahead and book my flight tickets on Go Ibibo myself, there's no point. If I have an EA, even if by the way, when we became successful, earlier when you're starting off, you're doing everything. But even if I had EAs and a lot of people working, I used to book my flight ticket, my hotel ticket, booking myself. I do that today. Even today, I do it myself because that's like eating your own dog food. If I'm doing a D2C brand and I'm not consuming myself, so for example, I can't do charged because I'll never drink charge.
Yeah.
So that's not me. I'm not solving the problem. So I'll never be able to think from a consumer point of view what consumer wants, how will I solve that problem? Like in Eka Care, now we have a heart rate, for an example. I have a watch and I have a heart rate on my phone. I do that every day just to verify my watch is correct or not. I store my medical records on Eka Care and I store my family's medical record on Eka Care. So you need to be the brand ambassador for your own product. And that brand ambassador doesn't mean you're a paid brand ambassador. It needs to come from inside. When someone writes a bad review about it, you need to feel bad about it. And someone gives a good review, you need to feel happy about it. It's like, it's your day in, day out, you're doing this. It's like, baby, right? Now I have 2 kids. So it's like growing your baby, right? When the baby cries, you cry. When the baby is happy, you're happy. That needs to come from inside. Nobody can buy that.
So in your journey, were you able to raise capital right at the beginning, or did you put in your own money, friends, family? How did Go Ibibo happen? Or maybe the first startup? Let's start from there.
For the first, we were lucky. We had Naspers in India. They wanted to start off. They had nothing. So we got money from Naspers. And Naspers is one of the largest venture capitalists in the world. So they kept on investing. Interestingly, till the end, they were the single. They had enough capital coming from their multinational companies. So that was, and this I'm talking about 2008, 2009. But even if you have an investor like Naspers, people will not keep funding you if you're not returning. If there is no vision of returning on that capital. We would have invested over 150 to $200 million in Go Ibibo, changing the way people book hotels. But our investors could see, that we were changing the consumer behavior. I remember before Go Ibibo, I used to see people sleeping in cars over weekends, right? If there is a long weekend, 15th August, New Year, people go to Simla, people go to Nainital, and they'll not find hotels. They'll sleep in the cars with families and kids and then, whatnot. I said, this is not the way. And people will not book online in advance because they will not trust the platform. We started solving problem from grounds up, went to every hotel, small hotel in every corner of the country, started building on top of it, and solve that problem. Now, today, everyone books hotels online, right? That's the fundamental behavioral change we brought in. But it requires consistent support from your investor, but you have to show them, right? It's like today's stock market is doing great. You keep investing, right? Yeah. That's that. When we started off Eka Care, fortunately, we had our good name in the market. So it was very, very easy. Before we even started off, we had our friends and family ready to invest. We could raise $4.5 million as a seed. Then we raised our
That's
seed.
because they believe in you. You've
That's
done,
it's like,
1 or 2 exits,
right.
Big ones. So anybody would put.
So you have to earn your credibility, right? But even if you look at Go Ibibo, right? When Naspers would give me 2 million, then say, okay, now go do something and show me your return, right? I'll give a business plan. And I was a commerce student, so I could do a good business plan. So I will go ahead, give the business plan, and they say, okay, this is the business plan. They say, okay, I'll give you $2 million. Now, next time when $2 million are finishing, I need to show what I've done. Otherwise, they will not give me another additional money. So in my entire career, till now, I have always over-delivered on numbers, whatever has been committed to my investors. I think that's
That's
what was the only reason that people believed, right? At the end of the day, all the businesses are there to make money, right?
Yeah.
Except few of the one you are doing.
No, this is not a business. It's a
But majority of the business will only be business when they are, even, and this I keep saying to my team.
Yeah.
We work with the doctors, we work with hospitals, we work with Government of India, etc., etc. Even a hospital will survive if they make money. Otherwise, it will not be, right? So business needs to make money, and if you are delivering, giving returns, there will be no. It's so easy today. It is so easy today to go back and tell about your story. It's about go and meet people, pitch your idea. It was super hard for us when we were doing in 2008-9. I have, worst days of my life, I've seen businesses of Ola, Flipkart, and opportunity of investing and said no. I was part of those teams. So
Okay.
those were the days. So you do all your mistakes in your life. So, but today it's so easy, right? If somebody is doing a Flipkart today, I think there'll be 100 people lined up.
Yeah. Okay. Same business. Just number of startups. This is data from the white paper the Prime Minister presented in the Parliament. 10 years before this, before 2014, there were 350 startups in the country. In the last 10 years, 1,17,257. Mind-blowing data. And that sort of is the data for whole sorts of things, So his point is correct, right? It's much easier to do startups. What is the importance of the college, your background, family, all of that in becoming successful? And I know you and I were talking earlier, and you said money is not the only success factor. So what else is, and what does it take to become successful?
Yeah, so I think I was talking to someone in the group, same conversation. My personal view is the whole peer group and the mindset coming from peer group is one of the most important element in college. Education will happen everywhere. But the people you hang out with, how they give you that mindset will change the future, right? I was talking to one of the guys here that there is quite methodological that people want to come to SRCC, then they want to do an internship, then want to do a job. I was talking at IIT Mumbai a while back. There, out of 10, 8 people wants to do some startup, right? Fundamentally, because the whole difference of mindset and people around and alumni and etc., the whole group becomes so easy. And same thing at IIT Banaras, right? Last year I was there. Kids are talking about, how can we do innovations? And there was full, people presenting, etc., etc. I get a lot of requests from all these guys that, they want to start up. And startup is not only about internet. If you are from a commerce background, it isn't about internet. You can do a D2C brand today. You can, kind of tie up with 2 more guys who can do in financials today. Financial sector is growing like crazy. So there could be many, many areas. You have to think for a problem and solve. And there are many, like all the D2Cs are not being solved through technology.
Sure. Thanks. So it's basically the lucky network you create around you, which, a lot of them who go to successful companies and they take you along and your corporate ladder journey starts, and I guess the access to money. Hopefully you've enjoyed this conversation and take back something from this. Thank you.